This is your USMNT Abroad weekend update from February 28th to March 2nd of 2025. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo and welcome to Tactical Manager TV and welcome to the US Men's National Team Abroad series where every single Monday we update you on how the Yanks did abroad over the weekend. Now, when I'm watching the games over the weekend, it feels like not a lot is happening with the Yanks abroad lately, but then when I do the episode, when I script it and get it ready, I notice that there's a lot to talk about. So you'll see throughout the episode, there is a lot to address. On top of that, we had an American this week humiliate, embarrass, destroy Real Madrid. Ben Franklin, Abe Lincoln, they would all be very proud. I knew them very well, so trust me, they would be extremely proud. With that said, don't forget to drop a like in this video if you haven't already. It helps the channel a lot, and we would love to hit 1,000 likes on the USMNT Abroad series episode that takes a lot of work and time. With that said, let's roll the intro and let's start the episode. As always, we start with the top 5 leagues in Europe, the first one being the English Premier League. But we didn't really have Premier League games this weekend. We had the FA Cup, but we're going to cover the clubs that normally play in the Premier League. So the first two Americans that we will talk about are Matt Turner and Chris Richards from Crystal Palace. And on Saturday, Matt Turner and Chris Richards both started. Whoa. That's weird. Did you guys hear that? Matt Turner started. And they played the full 90 minutes for Crystal Palace during their 3-1 win over Millwall in the FA Cup. So Turner might have had a save or two throughout the game. I don't really remember. I think he had one save. It was even when the opponent scored. But he did concede a goal on a .33 XG on target, which is not great, right? You should be above whatever you conceded. But it's also nothing alarming because it's just one goal. I also didn't really think that it was Matt Turner's fault, the goal they conceded. As for Chris Richards, he was the man of the match. He had another rock-solid defensive performance, winning most of his duels. Like, he actually did win 8 out of 10 ground duels and 9 out of 13 aerial duels. He also had an incredible 21 defensive actions, and he was okay on the ball. He was fine. He played it safe, but honestly, if you're not that good with your passing range, which he isn't, in my opinion, I'd like for him to play the way he did. Now, he did also get an assist this game. It was a ball that was lobbed into the box, and he headed it to find Nketiah and score Crystal Palace's third goal, which pretty much secured them the win. So again, rock solid defensively, safe on the ball, and got an assist. That is a man at the match performance for Chris Richards. Next up, we have Tyler Adams from Bournemouth. And on Saturday, Tyler Adams started and played 120 minutes for Bournemouth during their penalty shootout win against Wolves in the FA Cup. And, you know, it was 120 minutes and the game ended 1-1. First and foremost, Tyler played 120 minutes. I'm going to keep saying that because that just shows that he's healthier than ever, which is fantastic and very much needed for the US Men's National Team. He also had another rock-solid defensive performance. The passing range wasn't great. I think he missed most of his long passes, but when he kept it simple, he was very efficient, as always. So I would say he had a very good performance once again. In regards to the penalty shootouts, he didn't take any. Last but not least, in England, we have Anthony Robinson from Fulham. And on Sunday, A-Rob started and played 120 minutes for Fulham during their 1-1 draw with Manchester United, where Fulham would go on to win on penalty shootouts and advance to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. A-Rob converted his penalty kick with a calm and composed finish, sending the ball to one side and the goalkeeper to another. As for his performance, he was very good defensively, but looked quite rough on the ball, with a few bad touches here and there. The dribbling wasn't good either. Well, you know, he's not the most technical left back in the world. That's common sense and common knowledge at this point. But overall, he had a good performance, and he helped Fulham take down this mess of a team called Manchester United. Time to leave England and go to Italy so we can talk about the Americans in the Serie A. The first two being Christian Pulisic and Yunus Musa from Milan. And on Sunday, Pulisic and Musa both started for Milan during their 2-1 loss to Lazio. And I'm going to talk about them individually. I'll talk about both of them, but there is one word that I'm trying to think of that describes their performance and Milan's performance, and I can't recall what word it is. It's shit. And yes, I'm trying to be kind. It was really bad. So Yunus Musa was subbed out in the 37th minute, not due to an injury, just due to a horrible performance. Now, to be fair, everyone was bad for Milan, and Musa was more or less the same as their worst performers. But you know, he was the chosen one to be the scapegoat to get João Felix in. You know why? Because João Felix is not really the solution to their problems, but Milan has released a new uniform. And their uniform for this game looked just like Portugal. So their coach probably thought that if you put in the Portuguese player, he'll play better. And he didn't. He was also ass. He was terrible. And I feel like Milan has launched more uniforms this season than they had wins. They launch a new uniform like every month. Now, Musa, as I said, he had some bad giveaways, almost got a red card, bad first touches. I have nothing good to say about his performance. And honestly, the same applies to Christian Pulisic. He wasn't as bad as Musa, but he was equally as anonymous, I would say. He was just slow, not very useful at all on and off the ball. A few times he tracked back, but on the ball, which is where Pulisic usually shines, he wasn't really that good. And again, I focus on the Americans because that's what we report on, and they were not good. But the context matters. They were not the worst performers. Milan was terrible in general. That truly matters. The other two Americans that we would talk about would be Weston McKennie and Tim Weah from Juventus, but Juventus plays on Monday, so you know the drill. Let us know in the comment section down below, how did they do? Because we record this on Sunday. So last but not least, in Italy, we have Gianluca Busio from Venezia. And on Saturday, Busio started and played 60 minutes for Venezia during their 0-0 draw with Atalanta, a team that was named after the great city of Atlanta in Georgia. It is true. Now, Venezia, they're still deep into the relegation zone, and I actually fully expect them to be relegated. Hopefully, Busio gets a move and is not playing the second division of Italy once again next season. Now, before we continue, you're going to drop a quick like in this video if you haven't already. And we're going to put a quick word from the sponsor of this video, SoRare. We'll be back in 60 seconds for the Americans in the Bundesliga. Do you collect sports cards? Do you play fantasy sports? Yes, no, maybe? If you said yes to any of that, I got something for you. And if you said no, you might still want to stick around. Tactical Manager TV is partnering up with SoRare with a special offer. The link will be in the description. In SoRare, you can collect your own virtual cards of your favorite players. And then you may be asking, why would I want to collect virtual cards? Well, you can line them up on 5-a-side games every single week. And if your players perform in real life, you can win actual money, signed jerseys, game tickets, or even more cards to improve your own club. And you can also get unique experiences like a friend of the channel, Fiago, that got to meet Zinedine Zidane. You know what's also cool? They also have the NBA and Major League Baseball. I'm mainly gonna just stick to soccer, but you do you. What I really like about SoRare before we even partnered with them is that they're unlike other fantasy games where you have to pay per play. In SoRare, you pay to get the players you want permanently as cards, and then you can play multiple times using those same cards, at least until the player retires, win rewards if your players perform in real life. You can also buy undervalued player cards for cheap, then hold, use them in the future when they improve or develop, and then you can even sell that card when its value goes up for better ones. Or just keep the money yourself. And if you use the link in the description of this video, you will get $50 in credit after buying your first 5 cards through auctions or instant buy at any prices. Play with responsibility. All right, enjoy. All right, time to go to Germany and talk about the Americans that play in the Bundesliga. The first one being Giovanni Reyna from Borussia Dortmund. And on Saturday, Gio Reyna started and played 74 minutes for Dortmund during their 2-0 win over St. Pauli. This was his second consecutive start, and it was the second consecutive game where he was mostly anonymous. Look, I'm a massive Gio Reyna fan, and I have defended him for way too long, but I can't really defend him when it comes to this performance. He offered nothing on and off the ball. He just kind of jogged. It feels like he kind of clocked out of Dortmund at this point, but again, I'm judging this performance and it was not good. And if he continues to play like this when given minutes, what club will want to sign him this summer? And he should not go to MLS. He's good enough to stay in Europe. I just think he kind of clocked out from Dortmund. But once again, it was quite disappointing to see a player of Gio Reyna's talent look like he just didn't really give a crap. It was another really bad performance from Gio Reyna, very passive. I did not like what I saw. Now, next up is Joe Scally from Borussia, not Dortmund, the other Borussia. And on Saturday, Scally started and played 78 minutes for Gladbach during their 3-0 win over Heidenheim. A solid and efficient performance from Scally as a right back, defensively and on the ball. Okay, so Kevin Paredes from Wolfsburg, he's still injured. John Tolkien from Holstein Kiel, he's also still injured. They're not available, they didn't play this weekend. James Sands from St. Pauli, he's done for the season. So we're going to skip all of those guys, and we're going to go straight to Heidenheim. Actually, not Heidenheim, to Mainz, and talk about Leonard Maloney. And on Saturday, Leonard Maloney started off the bench and was subbed in the 83rd minute for Mainz during their 2-1 win over Leipzig. They are actually really pushing for a Champions League spot next season, at least in the Bundesliga. They've been incredible. They've been very good. Mainz. Last but not least, it would have been Noah Kai Banks from Augsburg, but he stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes this weekend. He didn't play, so I got nothing to add there. But now let's talk about what was possibly our top performer of the weekend. And we're going to go to Spain for that and talk about the one American that plays in La Liga. And his name is Johnny Cardoso from Real Betis. And on Saturday, Johnny started and played the full 90 minutes for Real Betis during their massive 2-1 win over Real Madrid. And Johnny was simply fantastic. Probably the second best player in the game, only behind Isco. Johnny bossed around the Real Madrid midfield. He kind of humiliated Modric for a moment there, had some crucial interceptions to hold Real Madrid's counterattack, was great on the ball, protected the back line, and he scored a goal with a stylish header from close range. He did also almost score a second goal off a header, but it got deflected. The only negative of this game for Johnny is that he had some fault on Real Madrid's goal. He misread the play, and he was not properly positioned, giving Mbappe space to pick a pass. It's not all on him, but he had some fault. Outside of that, he was incredible. It was a fantastic performance, a 9 out of 10 in my opinion. And I believe he became the very first American to score on Real Madrid in La Liga. Not the first to ever score, because Christian Pulisic did score on Real Madrid in the Champions League, but in La Liga, I think Johnny Cardoso, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's the first American to ever do so. Time to go to France and talk about the Americans in Ligue 1. The first one would have been Floating Balogun. He's still injured. He should still be out for like a month or so, but we're going to skip him and we're going to talk about Marc McKenzie from Toulouse. And on Sunday, McKenzie started and played the full 90 minutes for Toulouse during their 4-0 win over Angers in Ligue 1. Another game, another clean sheet. Toulouse is the team that has conceded the second least amount of goals in Ligue 1, only behind PSG. So statistically speaking, McKenzie is probably the best center back of the second best defense in France. Not bad. Not bad at all. Again, that does not mean he's the second best center back in the league, because tactics, who you play with, and I mean, the center backs are not the only ones playing defense, right? There's the goalkeeper, the midfielders, how the team presses, how the team behaves. It's a lot more complex than that. But it is factual that he is the best or the second best center back for the second best defense in France this season, which is quite remarkable. Next up in France, we have Tanner Tessman from Lyon. And on Sunday, Tessman started and played 70 minutes for Lyon during their 2-1 win over Brest. So Tessman actually started over Matic, which is good news. Last week, we kind of saw it when we were watching the game, that those two players, Matic and Tessman, cannot play together in a double pivot. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't really work well together. But it seems like the coach chose Tessman over Matic to continue to start. Let's see if that happens next weekend as well, because if it does, maybe he'll start to pick up some momentum this season. Even though I still think he is a center back. I will die on this hill. Okay, now we're gonna go to the Netherlands, and usually we start with the PSV boys, but they're all injured besides Richie Ledesma. He's the only American that's healthy. However, there are multiple reports saying that Richie Ledesma is gonna go play for Mexico. With that said, I'm not gonna waste my time covering PSV until Dest, Pepe, or Tillman are back. Okay, so let's skip on PSV, and why don't we talk about Paxton Aronson from Utrecht. And on Saturday, Paxton Aronson started and played 77 minutes for Utrecht during their 1-0 win over Breda. Last but not least in the Netherlands, we have Taylor Booth from Twente. And on Saturday, Taylor started and played 61 minutes for Twente during their 1-1 draw with Groningen. And from what I heard, apparently Taylor Booth struggled in this game playing in the wing. But again, it's what I heard. I did not watch the game. All right, time to go back to England and talk about the Americans in the second division of England, the EFL Championship. The first one being Josh Sargent from Norwich. And on Saturday, Sargent started and played the full 90 minutes for Norwich during their 1-1 draw with Blackburn. It was a meh performance from Sargent. He wasn't horrible, but he also wasn't great. And the only issue here is that not the issue, but the report here is that he finally cooled off after scoring 7 goals in the previous 6 matches. Next up is Brendan Aronson from Leeds. And on Saturday, Aronson started and played 72 minutes for Leeds during their 1-1 draw with West Brom. For that same game, Daryl DK played like 5 minutes for West Brom off the bench. Next up, we have a player that is back from injury, and his name is Haji Wright, and he plays for Coventry. And on Saturday, Haji was back for Coventry, and he started off the bench and was subbed in the 74th minute for them during their 3-2 win over Oxford United in the EFL Championship. The last time he had played was in November of 2024. Now, Caleb Wiley, he's still injured and not available for Watford, so we're going to skip on Caleb Wiley, the young promising left back, the young promising American left back, and we're going to talk about Ethan Horvath from Cardiff City, a club that is from Wales, the country. And on Friday, Horvath finally started and played the full 90 minutes for Cardiff City during their 2-0 loss to Aston Villa in the FA Cup. Now, despite the 2-0 loss, Ethan Horvath was actually quite good. He made 7 saves, and some of them were really tough, and he had a 3 XG on target faced, but he only conceded 2 goals, which means he prevented a full goal. My point here, Ethan Horvath was really good. But he's probably not going to get any more minutes this season because they were knocked out of the FA Cup, and I don't think he'll play in the EFL Championship. Last but not least, in England, we have Aidan Morris from Middlesbrough. And on Saturday, Aidan Morris started and played the full 90 minutes for Middlesbrough during their 1-0 win over Derby County. Now we're going to leave England, but we're not going to leave the United Kingdom. We're going to go up north to Scotland and talk about 2 Americans that play for Celtic. And their names are Cameron Carter-Vickers and Austin Trusty. And on Saturday, Carter-Vickers and Trusty both started for Celtic during their 5-2 win over St. Mirren. Carter-Vickers played the full 90 minutes, but Trusty was subbed out in the 27th due to a head injury. He got a few stitches, but it seems like he'll be fine, and he'll be back very soon. Alright everyone, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like before you go, and also drop a comment in the comment section, just to help out the channel. It always helps. I don't know, tell us what's your favorite cheese or something. We're going to have one more episode on Thursday. We're going to do a roster prediction video for the March camp that's coming up very soon. And that's all for today. I want to thank you all very much for watching and have a great day.